Hello, I'm Sivels, and today I'd like to invite you to discuss the negative side effects that recreational marijuana has had on Colorado. But first we have to talk about some of the background. In 2000, Amendment 20 was signed, which gave access to seriously ill patients marijuana for the first time in Colorado. But it was for people that had seriously painful illnesses like seizure disorders, not glaucoma, cancer, and things like that. From then until the next amendment was passed about marijuana, there were several reforms and changes about the laws, nitty-gritty stuff, and it brought around the medical dispensaries that we see around today, the mom and pop shop dispensaries like they are, and now they're even growing into big retail chains even. But Amendment 64 was signed in 2012, and that basically made it legal to smoke marijuana in the state of Colorado, almost to the same extent that the laws on alcohol were. You had to be 21, you couldn't, smoke and drive, you couldn't do it in public areas, things like that. This brought around the more common use in Colorado of marijuana. And one of the age groups that's always susceptible to picking up new things were the teens and the youth, which unfortunately this affects the most. Their prefrontal cortex is not quite developed, and the dopamine levels that the brain reaches when smoking pot can cause serious damage to teens' brains. Even, the younger you go, the more damage you have, the more potential you have to cause damage because the less developed it is. There was a Monitor the Future study by the University of Michigan, and they did prove that the marijuana smoking rates in our high schools and in the youth are up from 18% to as high as 25% in some areas of Colorado, but it averages around 23%, 23.4% now. And now that marijuana is not the big exciting thing in high schools anymore, since it's been legalized and everything, there's been more serious, harder drugs showing up, and it's becoming a problem in places like Woodland Park and a few areas in Denver. The next thing we'll move on to is just the general downsides it's having on our economy. Not that more people's a downside, but from 2012 to 2013, the year that it was legalized, there was a 20% more people came to Colorado than was expected, which really hurt our roadways and our school systems and things like that. As everybody that lives here know, I-25 is a really dangerous road, and after that it was marked as one of the most dangerous roads in the country. This is more of just personal speculation and what I was reading, and I guess it was just personal input. But there's less desirable people here. The laws are more lax on drugs in Colorado, so more drug addicts and people that diminish our economy have moved here. The opposing views are that it has brought in some money, $6.2 billion annually in taxes, or what's estimated it to bring in. There has been countless amount of money restored to our judicial system from not fighting all of the ridiculous cases on marijuana that they used to. And it's easier for those who seriously need their meds to get them. And if you guys have any questions for me, I would love to answer them.
What kind of drugs are you referring to when you talk about the increase in other drug use in places like Manitou and Woodland Park?
Woodland Park. In 2013, after marijuana was legalized, they had a really big problem with methamphetamine. With something like 33% of their school population was drug tested and was found positive.
Oh.
And that's because of the rise
Well,
of
you
marijuana
can't
use?
say it's because of that, because you can't say, oh, this did this specifically for that reason, but it's speculation that is what's causing. And I mean, there's been ketamine found in a lot of Denver schools, along with cocaine. But
Okay.
Do you think that the legalization of marijuana has increased the indigent population in this area?
yes, it was the less desirable people are moving here.
Okay.
People like the homeless and like to come here because they can smoke marijuana and drink alcohol, and be okay, and it's okay.
Do you you said it's illegal? Is there actually a law that says it's illegal to smoke and drive in Colorado?
Yes, Amendment 64.
Okay.
There's a section of it that states that.
Okay.
So earlier you mentioned the infrastructure and how the roadways are getting bad. I've heard of a program called Pot for Pot, like the taxes going to the potholes.
Yes, and the $6.2 billion in tax money goes. That's what it's going back for, is things like roadworks and
Gotcha.
and schools. There in Amendment 64 there was a section, I can't remember the exact number, but there was a specific percentage of the tax had to go back to the school systems.
Are all the school systems participating in that?
No,
How come?
because moral reasons, I guess. That's what they don't want to take
Schools
pot money,
don't want drug money.
drug money.
Have you seen a change in the infrastructure since they legalized marijuana with the 6 point?
Change of infrastructure, absolutely.
Is
Do you
it
think the roads are better?
improved or?
I think so. Or I see road crews and roadworks all the time. They just recently fixed the Fillmore Bridge in Colorado Springs. They fixed the Woodman Bridge, the Cimarron Bridge, and I read in the paper that all of that was from pot money. Thank you. In conclusion, marijuana is having negative side effects on our youth, our economy, and it is giving us some positive outcomes, but are they enough to outweigh the consequences?
7 minutes 52 seconds.
And we're still recording.